Hi, everybody. I wanted to check in real quick with a really quick video about the concert that I attended last night. I like to do a little wrap up whenever I attend a live performance of anything, really. And so, what I heard last night was the Symphony Number 104 in D major called London by Joseph Haydn. Um, the Violin Concerto by Esa-Pekka Salonen, and Symphony Number 4 in D minor, Opus 120 by Robert Schumann. I heard this at the Kennedy Center Concert Hall in Washington, D.C. Christoph Eschenbach was the conductor, and here is the program for you to see, the full program. Yeah, so I just wanted to make a couple of really quick points about the program in general, and then I wanted to really speak more to the Violin Concerto by Esa-Pekka Salonen. Um, the first thing that struck me, this Haydn 10 piece, this Symphony 104, was written in like 1792, I think, or something like that. It had its premiere in London, so it's since become known as the London Symphony, apparently, according to the program notes. He wrote several, I think 12 total symphonies in London, and they premiered there. But this one's sort of the last one, and so it sort of gets the title as the London Symphony. But what struck me about it was, first of all, it's very beautiful, but it was just such a great way, I think, to start the program, because we had this Haydn from 1792, then we had the Violin Concerto by Esa-Pekka Salonen, which premiered in 2009. So we had this juxtaposition of a work that was more than 200 years old, followed then by a work that's less than 10 years old. And that really, really worked well together. And then, following the Violin Concerto, we had the Symphony Number 4 by Robert Schumann after that, which was written in the 19th century. So what struck me, one idea that struck me about this was the fact that this Haydn piece in particular has been being performed, it's been performed now for more than 200 years. And just what a continuity of culture that is, and what a transmission of culture that is, to have that still being performed and still being, enjoyed by audiences today, even though it's more than 200 years old. And that just really struck me. Maybe that's not so amazing, since great art tends to do this. I mean, if you've seen any of my book chats, a book chat recently about the Parthenon Enigma, the book The Parthenon Enigma, the Parthenon has been there in place and inspiring people architecturally, with its art, architectural art for, more like 2,400 years or 2,500 years. So, but I don't know, there was something that just really struck me last night for some reason about the fact that, in particular, I was looking at, at the orchestra itself, and how that same, because they're reading that story, they're reading that musical story that was written down 200 years ago, and every sort of violinist and, oboist and whatever what other instruments, people are playing these other instruments, they're reading that and interpreting that story from 200 years ago. So I thought that was kind of a cool concept. But I wanted to spend more time on this Violin Concerto by Esa-Pekka Salonen, who I was not familiar with, but he is a composer from Finland. And like I said earlier, this piece was composed in 2009, and it premiered in 2009. The program notes, it's in 4 movements, and the program notes were supplied by the composer himself, I think, and from what I understand. And, so he describes the first movement as Mirage, and then the second movement is Pulse 1, the third movement is Pulse 2, and then the fourth movement is called Adieu. And and he describes the first movement, the pulse, the mirage, as the violin starts. So my experience of it was this way too. The violin starts alone, and then there's some like bell sounds provided by the harp and bells actually. The percussionists, and then that. And then there are, it moves into pulse one, and pulse one is sort of, he describes it as a heartbeat, like a person awake at night in a room, and the room is silent, and the person is not able to sleep, and really the only thing that the person hears is a heartbeat. That's how it was described in the program notes. And then the third movement is this sort of, it gets really bombastic. There's a snare drum, there's cymbals, there's just it's a lot of conflicting kind of sounds, and he describes it as very sort of California and very sort of freedom of expression. That's what's described in the program notes. And then the adieu is sort of, it's like an ending with, but during this ending there's short outbursts of orchestral sound that he describes as almost violent. And then the piece itself ends on a chord that is of, a different harmony than the rest of the piece. So, my experience of it, so whenever, so I, I listened to it with these program notes in mind, but it really did feel, as he described that third movement, it really did, feel sort of film noir to me. It felt kind of noir to me, like this was it was sort of gritty this way, and it sort of had this, to me, this feel of, nighttime, but activity at night. Sort of like you would think of as noir. But the more I thought about it, and then it really also struck me as maybe, it reminded me of the movie The Philadelphia Story, which is an old Katharine Hepburn movie that had, also had Cary Grant in it, and Jimmy Stewart in it, and James Stewart in it. And at one point in this movie, James Stewart tells the Katharine Hepburn character, whose name is Tracy in the movie, he says, Tracy, he's kind of like, the Jimmy Stewart character is sort of like a naive journalist in a way, a bit naive, I think, and he meets this society, free-spirited society girl, Tracy, and he thinks she's just a wonderful person, and he tells her at one point, Tracy, you are full of hearth fires and holocausts. And so that's sort of what this reminded me of this piece in general reminded me of that in a way, like how really everybody is full of hearth fires and holocausts. There's all sorts of conflicting things that go on in each individual, and this piece really felt like that to me. It zooms in, the music zooms in, the music zooms out. There's periods of tranquility, and then there's periods of indecision, it feels like, and also periods of just frustration and confusion in a way. And then, but it ends. It starts over. So it starts over at the end. You get the sense that period is ended, and you started something new. So maybe it was a problem. It could be even feel like a problem that's getting solved. And so I just think the piece itself was so rich. I just wanted to touch base with a quick video about it because I got so much from it. And then just technically speaking, this the violinist for this performance last night was Leila Josefowicz, and she is, there's actually a recording of her performing this piece on Spotify, and I think also on YouTube, and I do encourage you to not only listen to the piece on Spotify or some other way of listening, streaming, or by a CD, but listen to it, but also get a chance, if you can, to watch it being performed. And there are some performances on YouTube, because what it does is it really pushes a violin, I think, to really its to its limits. Maybe that's not its limits, but it pushes it to the edge. And so it was a fascinating thing to hear on that sort of technical level, and also to watch her her perform that was just amazing. So if you get a chance to hear the Violin Concerto by Esa-Pekka Salonen, I encourage you to do that and watch a performance of it being performed as well if you can. I think that's all I'll say about that. So until next time, see you soon. Bye.